to the May 24th, 2022 meeting of the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll start with the public notice. When you hear your application called, please step up to the podium right here, loudly and clearly state your name and address for the record, please. We begin with the notice, as I said. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 24th, 2022 at the Town Hall West, 401 West Main Street, Islip, New York, on the following applications at the times listed or soon thereafter as they may be reached. At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard, dated May 20th, 2022. John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, our first application tonight is number 354-22. Brian and Kathleen Alamena. Permission to leave shed having a side yard of 1.2 feet and rear yard of 1.5 feet instead of the required 2 feet each. Residence B District, west side of Lorraine Circle, number 128, 475.93 feet northwest of Brook Street, West Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Please, as I said, please step up to the mic, to the podium. I don't know. I thought I was clear. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Brian Alamena, 128 Lorraine Circle, West Sayville.
Thank you.
Alamena, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Give a shed a little too close. We see him every week. Seems de minimis. 1, 2, 1, 5, 2. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to grant that.
In favor? Aye. Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Again, when you hear your application called, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record loudly and clearly. Next application, number 355-22, Robert Sevier and Matthew Sevier. Permission to leave shed 12.3 feet by 16.2 feet, having a side yard of 0.3 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Residence AA District, northwest corner of Atlantic Place, number 154, and Heller Place, Hauppauge, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Is there someone here? Please step forward. Thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah, 154 Atlantic Place, Hauppauge, New York, 11788.
How are you tonight, sir?
Very great. How are you?
Great. Shed a little too close. As we said to the last applicant, we see them a lot. Seems de minimis. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board have any questions? Mr. McCauley, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
All right.
Application granted. Have a good night.
Excuse me?
Have a good night. Application granted.
Thank you.
Mr. Messina, I'm here.
I know, but you're not next. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Application number 356-22, Stephen E. Dutton III, permission to install in-ground pool, leaving a side yard of 14 feet, instead of the required 18 feet, Residence AA District, north side of Roxbury Court, number 3, 670.82 feet east of Ocean View Avenue, Oakdale, New York. Citizen of the evening thus far. Counselor, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Steve Bertolino, 130 West Main Street, East Islip, New York, for the applicant. As you can see probably from the photo on your screen, this is really a pie-shaped lot. There's really no rear yard to this property. Right outside the door, you have some decking and then the bulkhead. As we established many years ago with Mr. Wexler, the pool has to be at least 18 feet off the bulkhead to Mr. tie rods. So we don't want to get too close that way. So the only way we can nestle in this small 14 by 30 pool is to ask the board for a relaxation, encroaching on the south side or the southeast side. That neighbor on that side also has a pool in their backyard. So really we'll be going pool to pool. We'll be keeping in with the nature and character of the area. There should be no adverse environmental impacts. And I certainly think if this board saw fit to grant the application, the benefits would certainly outweigh any detriment to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Bertolino. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make the motion to grant the application. Only because he got down here very quickly.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Next application, number 357-22, Kathleen Matalone, permission to erect one-story addition, leaving a side yard of 11.9 feet instead of the required 14 feet, and to leave shed having a side yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 2 feet, not having the required 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling Residency District, south side of Gray Street, number 364, 200 feet east of Grundy Avenue, Holbrook, New York. Madam, your name and address for the record, please.
Kathleen Matalone, 364 Gray Street, Holbrook, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
You have a side yard a little too close for the addition. And the shed. Side of the shed's okay, not having 20 feet behind the front line dwelling. How long has that shed been up?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How long has the shed been up?
I bought it that way, so I'm as long as the old owners put it up. I just bought it a year ago, February.
So you're saying it's been up for like more than like 20 years, right?
Yep.
No?
Yes.
She just said yes, Ms.
Yes.
Massaro. I really don't think you should be testifying.
It appears it's only, it's 15 instead of 20 anyway. The old code said 10 feet behind the front line dwelling, you're at 15 feet. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Thank you.
All in favor?
You should wait till the vote before you say thank you, man. Things get crazy around here, if you haven't noticed. Next application, number 358-22, Jose Rolando Garcia, permission to leave addition to accessory structure having side yard of 2.4 feet instead of required 10 feet, Residence AA District, north side of Bailey Avenue, number 71, 738 feet east of 3rd Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you, Ms. Trello?
I'm very good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
So we're here to maintain an addition to a detached garage. The addition portion to the detached garage maintains a side yard of 2.4 instead of the required 10 feet. The original detached garage portion was about 680 square feet. It was built in the 1930s and CO'd in the 80s. It looks like the previous owner attempted to square off the garage sometime around 2010 based off of the aerials. Our owner purchased the house in 2017. When they took a look at they did not order a new survey, unfortunately. So when they looked at the CO, they just saw a very large detached garage and assumed that the structure was legal the way it exists today.
How did, maybe I missed, I'm sorry.
Yes.
How did the house get so close to the property line?
The detached garage. So the original portion of it was 5 feet from the property line, and it was 680 square feet. So, but it was like in an L shape. So they squared off the L and they stayed in line with it, but it kind of veered a tiny bit. So it's 2.4, but the original garage that was there was 5 feet from the property line.
They almost doubled the size of the project.
They added about 400 square feet to it. The original
How many
garage
square feet?
was 400 square feet.
My rhetorical question is, how do we allow 2.4 feet instead of required 10?
It's a 75% relaxation.
86% relaxation.
6, even better.
I know you didn't do it.
Yes. And unfortunately, neither did the property owner.
If you allow 2.4, then next is 2, then it's 1, then we're going to go to the negative. I didn't see how we allowed it. They took a compromise situation apparently and even made it work.
Yes.
I don't know why they get bonus points.
Well, it wasn't my owner. He bought it that way, and it was done 10 years before he bought it. So
I mean, 2.4 feet.
it's a significant variance,
And
yes.
how, when somebody wants 3 feet, they'll say, look, it's flexible. Dynamic expediting.
Ms. Ryan, any planning precedent?
If there was precedent, they do it.
I think there's precedent signed by some chairman named Wexler.
He was very lenient.
The last applicant said something nice. That was Steve.
It's a mistake.
I was waiting at the podium before you called the meeting.
Now,
No?
you get points for that. That would bring you down to about 6.2.
So I did speak with the property owner, and if he were to reduce it, I just asked that we could, even though he altered the structure, the original detached garage was 680, and it only maintained the 5 feet.
Was that CO'd?
Yes, in the 80s. It was built in the 30s, so at
Okay.
least not take down, bring it down to what
Right.
the code would be today, but at least revert it back to the CO that was already approved.
That sounds reasonable.
That's why I like Miss Charlotte. She always has a plan. So 680 was CO'd,
Yes,
and it held the 5 feet on the front of it.
yes, and then it sloped to 4.
So you're saying your client's willing to take that, the original structure?
The original structure and take off the addition portion.
All right. Sounds like you got good. Well, it's CO'd at 5 feet, and it slopes a little back and forth.
Well, since they all,
They all-
but since we're so kind-hearted.
This, we should be heard this
Since
application.
you got to the podium prompt.
He almost choked on kind on it. He was like,
I need a drink.
Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion. Five is something.
5, but it slopes to 4,
You're right,
so.
Chris, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right, 100%.
As per,
Sorry, you're right.
You're right, just in a second.
All in favor?
next application, number 359-22, Jose Cruz and Santos Aurelia Salmero, permission, to renew permit, for accessory apartment pursuant to Isoplan Code Section 68616, Residence B District, east side of Broadway, number 125, 75 feet north of Alkier Street, Brentwood, New York. Ms. Trella, back to you.
Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you again?
So we're here for our second renewal. First renewal was done in 2018. This is our second. The apartment exists today as it did back then. There are no changes.
There was obviously some public comment. Was there not, Ms. Passaro?
Yes.
So is there some sort of business being running out of this property too?
Yes, I did receive notification that there was a neighbor concern about a possible business being run out. So I actually stopped at the home today personally to see what condition it was in. The interior of the home exists exactly how it does on the plans. I did see a white van with a ladder on the top of it. However, there are no commercial markings. So I spoke to code enforcement to see what the code was for commercial vehicles and what would be deemed a commercial vehicle not allowed there. And there is an exception to the rule in zoning code 68-48A1E. And it says that a pickup truck or a van that does not have a gross vehicle weight of more than 9,000 pounds can actually be maintained in the driveway so long as there are no commercial markings, and there are none. It's a plain white van.
Where's your client's business listed with the Department of State?
I don't know, actually. I'm not even going to.
Where is it listed with the Suffolk County Clerk's Office?
I don't know if he's licensed or not. He doesn't have an office. He just brings his work truck
Well,
home.
it isn't a question of how the design is on the interior. The question is the activity that's occurring on the site, according to what I'm reading here, okay? So, in addition to selling used cars, they're saying he's conducting his business out of that site.
So
Is there someone here to speak on that? Okay, so we'll hear testimony.
okay.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Mulaney. I'm speaking on behalf of my father-in-law, Juan Rodriguez. He resides directly across the street at 124 Broadway.
Can you pull that microphone close to you, sir?
Sure. His name was Mulaney, Mullaney. First name's Joseph. The family and as well as my father-in-law were in opposition to the accessory apartment located at 125 Broadway. These are the reasons. 1, high occupancy of residents at 125 Broadway. 2, large number of vehicles parked overnight at this location. There are between 12 and 14 vehicles parked at any given time overnight.
When was that?
Every evening.
And you've seen that personally with your own eyes.
I have photographs to show you.
Hand them up.
How many
Oh.
vehicles in the court there?
12 to 14.
Recently?
Yes.
And is that on a regular or semi-regular basis? It wasn't like they had a graduation party or.
Yeah. I'll get to the other points, but this is at 125 Broadway.
When was it taken?
It's all dated. This
There's
is
2 photos. When were they taken?
2 photos.
Right? Isn't that what you just handed up?
No, there's more.
How many are there?
4 or 5.
Okay. When were these taken? Give us a range of dates and a time of the day.
Okay.
please.
Well, I mean, I have a few photos. I have from the snowstorm. This has been an ongoing
you-
project. This
Sir,
excuse,
sir, I'm trying to help here to clarify what's going
the
on.
photos.
Answer my question.
The photos
During
are
what-
dated.
Okay,
Vinny,
go
they
ahead.
have
You
the
know what?
dates.
Go ahead.
Vinny, just so
Okay.
you know, he may not have them in front of him. They're dated at the top.
And I asked what time of day.
So that, I don't know, but let me just date, it's October 14, 2021. All of them.
Okay.
Dated that, and it looks, it's daylight, it's, I'm sorry. What caused you to take these photographs?
Okay. There's an overcrowding situation, and there's a business being conducted out of the home.
When you
All
say
right.
there's a business being conducted at the home, tell us what you would do.
There's a construction business by the name of JSC Gutters of New York Incorporated, registered with the Department of State. The number is 433-8517, and it's registered to Jose Cruz, who's the owner of 125 Broadway.
Do you see work trucks there?
Yes.
Describe them, because I have a photograph, I'm just wondering.
Okay, there's a number of commercial vehicles. They're unmarked. I'll explain why they're unmarked. But,
What color
okay, white.
and what type of vehicles?
They're vans. They're outfitted with ladders. And
Get it right on the head.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So let's. If I can just bring
I
it.
think you have convinced us, not only the but the photographs, the reports from the town, that there's a commercial business being operated out there.
Yeah, but yeah, okay.
Is there anything else you want to tell us in addition to that?
Well, in addition to that, the reason why the Suffolk County Department of Consumer Affairs was contacted, they're operating with an expired license, and the signs were taken off a number of years ago. This problem only began about 3 years ago. Before that, there wasn't really much of a problem, but as the business grew, the problem grew. And as far as like the automobile business and everything, my father-in-law had a car in front of his house for like 6 to 8 months. Contacted the town of Islip. Town of Islip was told us to call a Suffolk County Police Department. The police department had it towed away. After that, the number of used cars. But again, it's all in front of my father-in-law's house. Now the problem is this: because they have a triple wide driveway, because they can't accommodate 12, 14 cars, they still have the tenants can't park. So what do they wind up doing? They wind up parking in front of my father-in-law's house.
I think we get.
So let me ask a question to
Sure.
the board and maybe to Mr. Garbarino down there. It's in front of us tonight for the renewal of a permit for accessory apartment. I know that the commercial vehicles is another issue, but the accessory apartment, does running a business out of your home, if you're living there, does that hinder the accessory apartment?
The problem is it's taking the parking, according to what he's saying. So therefore, it really doesn't meet the parking requirement.
Gotcha.
correct because according to what I understand, they're supposed to provide parking for the tenants.
On-street park.
Sure.
And the parking for the tenants are in front of my father-in-law's.
Yes, we get it.
Okay,
Understood.
okay. I just wanted to let you know that I have other photos during
Hand
the
them up.
snow. During the snowstorm. Move it over. All the vehicles that were at Mr. Cruz's residence were removed right before the snowstorm, parked in front of my father-in-law's home. We had a pretty heavy snowstorm. What ended up happening, when the town of Islip did a great job plowing, the unfortunate thing is that in front of my father-in-law's house couldn't get plowed. And that's just one vehicle at the time, but this happened 3 years ago. It was all their vehicles. They got fully plowed and left my father-in-law with a mess. He missed his doctor's appointment, and he's handicapped. He's almost 80 years old. I take him to the doctor now and everything. But the thing was, he was left stranded for almost a week. And now that last snowstorm that you see,
No, we understand. We hear a lot of these cases, and we know all of the collateral consequences when people run illegal business.
okay, but I just want to let you know, as far as like the business that we're talking about, there's currently an investigation by Suffolk County on this business for failing to renew their license.
We don't have anything to do with that.
All right.
No, I want to give people a heads up.
Sir,
Now, I just want one more photograph, if I may.
And that's the last one.
just to clarify though, is
The photograph I just presented, that's in front of my father-in-law's home. As you can see, that so-called recreational use pickup truck has a receptacle on it for something more than a boat. And as you can see, it's hanging out into his driveway. So it's just been an unbearable situation. And I'm sorry that, I wish I could have resolved it a different way, but since this came up like this, we waited 3 years for this time.
Have you shown these pictures to Dynamic Expediting? Would you like to see that? Looks like a used car. Miss Trevor, when you look at them, would you just give the expediter Miss Trevor a minute?
Sure.
I am looking at the photographs and I see what his complaints are. When I went to the site today, this was not there.
What time did you go?
About 1 o'clock.
Yeah, middle of the day when they would
Um,
presumably all be out working, right?
Correct.
Okay.
What
I
do we
do-
need to do when we have a gentleman whose father-in-law lives and gives us information, shows us photographs from multiple days? We have town photographs, we have town reports, I all say the same thing. What are we supposed to do?
Well, I did call code
No,
enforcement.
What are we supposed to do? Say no shots?
No, but I would like my side to be heard as well.
Go ahead.
So I did call code enforcement to find out about open violations. There was one around October that was investigated by Cesar Benavides. I tried to get in touch with him. He is no longer with the town, but I was advised that he closed his violation and he didn't issue any violations to the owner at that time. So he was out to investigate this. When they do that, they have to make 3 site visits. So he went 3 different days, 3 different times of day. He didn't observe
You don't know
what
that.
was,
Have you seen a record that says that?
that's what I was told that he did.
How
I
do we
didn't, I
confirm?
request, well, I foiled his report, but I haven't received it
Okay.
yet.
How do we confirm what somebody unnamed said to you on the phone sometime, what somebody may have imparted to them? We're supposed to take that as
No. It was Linda from the Code Enforcement Division of the town of Islip who advised me
Give that
this.
full credence. Does that negate everything our eyes show us?
No. So I asked her to have the case reassigned to an investigator that's currently employed because there's another violation here and we have a neighbor complaint. So, and I told her that we're,
What do we do with all the proof we bring?
well,
And quite honestly, there's no one with personal knowledge that's here to testify that it's not going on. I mean, you're testifying that on one day, at one particular time of the day, you went by there and there was nothing there, and we believe you. We don't believe that you would lie to the board, but there's all this other evidence that kind of frankly overwhelms that. So there's nothing in opposition to what's been raised. Kind of leaves you in a bad spot.
well, I
Also,
feel,
quite frankly, it's unfair for the neighborhood.
I
These people
I
to be-
completely,
To be running a business with trucks parked all over the lot.
I mean, even if they're not running a business, just parking trucks there. That's inappropriate because it throws the cars into the street, defeating the purpose of the off-street parking requirement in the code.
How is that fair? How are we doing justice if we ignore that and that it doesn't exist? We're not.
I don't want you to ignore it. I want to give code enforcement an opportunity to go out, give the homeowner an opportunity to clean it up. He's had an apartment here. This is his second
That's not-
renewal.
How about
He's abused the privilege, frankly, of having an apartment there.
How about why don't we give Ms. Trella the benefit of the doubt to have code enforcement go out, we'll reserve.
Because code enforcement can go out and still find nothing, and that doesn't mean that they're not.
Why don't we make a decision and without prejudice?
No,
Or with prejudice?
I would make a decision with prejudice. I believe that from the evidence, not testimony, but the statements we've heard tonight, the applicant has forfeited his right to both these courtesies. He's forfeited them running. That's for 3 years. That's the way they've conducted business. I know I'm voting. I'm going to tell you right now. It's thumbs down.
So my argument to that would be, he had an apartment in 2015, it was granted, and it was renewed in 2018, and the first complaint was in 2021. So if this has been going on for several years, the first complaint.
Even if it's going
was
on
6
for a
months ago.
year, okay? It's
No,
quite
I-
frankly, it's outrageous.
I completely understand your
Okay,
point, but
so
he hasn't
don't say that
abused
only
it
because
for-
it's only been the last year there's been a problem, that somehow that gets him a pass. It doesn't.
And also, everybody acts. Right. I only robbed banks in 2021. But everybody always acts as though the town has unlimited resources. It's the FBI that could stake out a house and sit there. They don't. We all know that. To say, well, look, the inspector went there and found nothing on the people a day. That doesn't happen.
And, and integrity is what you do when nobody's looking. So when he knows that code enforcement's looking, of course he's going to clean up his act. But the minute that they're gone, is he going to revert to what he's been doing? History says yes. I mean,
And did you ask him, are you running a business? Do you have 9 trucks sitting there? Did you ask him that?
I spoke to his son. He wasn't home today. He did confirm that he does have a gutters business.
Well, did he tell you
But-
he has 6 vans parked there?
He said he has 2 vans, is what he told me. I personally don't know how many vehicles he owns, but he
I don't
told
think
me
was
he
being
has
candid.
2 vans. And I would just like to give the property owner who's had an apartment approved since 2015 the opportunity.
this is his opportunity. We have a public hearing. This is his opportunity. He's not here.
He does have an open investigation with the town, of Islip, like I said, and they don't just go to your house once. They do have to make multiple site visits at different times, and they do not have to give him an announced date. They don't have to make an
But
appointment. They
independent
can
of
go-
what code enforcement does, we can decide that he's not deserving of a permit based on his prior conduct. Okay, so it doesn't matter really what the outcome of that investigation is. It doesn't affect our jurisdiction or our ability to decide the application.
And also, how is that fair to the neighborhood? Oh, he's going to be good now.
I
Is that
understand.
expunge the vans? I'm not holding you responsible. I'm sure you don't have any commercial vans in your house.
No.
Although we should look. Pull it up.
I don't.
We're got a whole group of, but how is that fair? Are we going to be good now?
I completely understand.
Okay.
I'm thinking of the property owner. Like if you have an accessory apartment, it's typically because you need the money financially,
That's long,
and to
that
have
raises
it
up the
taken
lawn.
away without prejudice,
Okay,
to not give
You
him an
guys think?
opportunity to clean it up is all I'm saying.
I understand.
okay.
He says. Mr. Vice.
Keep them on the straight and narrow. Theoretically. You know what?
Let's reserve.
I'm going to reserve the decision, Mr. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Board have any questions? Make a motion to reserve the decision.
No, I think we got it all. I think we have it all. We're good.
Do you want these photographs back?
Yes, please.
Holding evidence.
Tampering with evidence.
Yeah, isn't that like a thing when they withhold evidence in like a Brady hearing?
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
Thank you.
That's not Andy Bumpy.
Do you have a motion, a second?
John made the
All in
motion.
favor, second.
Then,
All in
okay.
favor, aye.
All right.
We have since 2 days by law, we'll get a decision to you, obviously. as quick as we can.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
And sir, be vigilant. If you see anything else, let us know. Well, 62 days more won't hurt you. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Next application, number 360-22, Winston, Leach, and Lana Jordan, permission to leave driveway having front yard occupancy of 43% instead of permitted 35%, Residence A District, west side of Martinstein Avenue, number 1077, 333.32 feet south of Lakeland Street, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Winston Leach, 1077 Martinstein Avenue, Bayshore.
How are you tonight?
Pardon me?
How are you tonight?
Pretty good, sir.
You have a driveway that exceeds front yard occupancy. Code says 35, we give 40, you're at 43.
Yes, I bought the house like that 2006. I haven't done anything to it.
So we normally, you can see up to 40%, so you're gonna have to find a way, we're gonna grant you at 40%, you're gonna have to find a way to cut 3% out, so you get down to 40% front yard occupancy,
3%.
all right? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Okay.
Do the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Deny the application as presented and instead
All in favor?
Okay. All right,
Have a good
thank you.
night, sir.
Next application, number 361-22, Julio and Ellen Lugo. Permission to leave above-ground pool having a side yard of 12 feet and rear yard of 9.9 feet instead of the required 14 feet each, and to leave shed not having required 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, Residence A District, east side of Locust Avenue, number 2261, 180 feet north of Peconic Street, Ronkonkoma, New York. Ma'am, your name and address for the record, please.
Ellen Lugo, 2261 Locust Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you tonight?
Tired.
Tired?
I hear that.
I'm with you. What's the problem?
It's a 4:30.
Did you bring enough for everyone?
I think you did.
Perhaps.
So you have a pool, it's above ground, it's a little too close for what we do here with above ground pools, as we say life of the pool. So if you have to repair it or fix it or rebuild it, you gotta move it to a location that is correct for your property, all right?
Of course.
And you have a shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, how long has that shed been up?
2005.
2005. I think you passed.
Can't
it.
be seen from the road. It can't be seen
That's a-
even from my front
It
yard.
used to be 10 feet. They changed it in 2013-ish, I think, to 20 feet. So you said 2005. You got the right answer.
Okay.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this
How
application?
many commercial vehicles? That's a trick question.
How many what?
Commercial
It's a
vehicles.
joke. Don't answer. Don't answer.
It's my ambulance.
Find yourself in places you don't want to be.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? For the board of any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Life of pool.
For the
Life
life
of the pool.
And what
Call-
happens?
Call Tim.
Aye.
You're good. For the life of the pool.
I know, but what happens now? Like,
You swim.
The earth,
no, but I mean, do you
The
get
sky's
something in the
open, the
mail
sun
that says
You'll
that
shines.
get
it's
something, you'll get
all?
something in the mail, yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to be funny. You'll get something in the mail and
I'm
it'll,
past.
You're okay. all right?
Yeah,
I'm not very
thanks.
funny. My wife tells me that all the time.
Yeah, so do we.
not me. I think he's a star.
Have a
Next
good
is-
night.
Next application number 362-22, Balwinder Jazzwall and Co-Winder Jazzwall. Permission to install in-ground pool, leaving a side yard of 10 feet instead of required 18 feet. Residence level A district, west side of Trailblazer Court, number 22, 687.47 feet north of Burroughs Road, Holbrook, New York. Counselor, your name and address for the record, please.
Brian Butler from Butler and Associates, 100 South Main Street, Suite 209B, Salem, New York, for Mr. and Mrs. Jaswell.
How are you tonight, Mr. Butler?
Good, how are you, Tom?
Want to state your case or you want
Sure. My clients are looking to install a new in-ground pool, leaving the side yard at 10 feet instead of the required 18 feet. Their property is a pie-shaped lot, and this is the only place that they could actually put this pool in. We have submitted the surveys. Fill them up.
what's behind this?
Not their land. It's it's a
Whose is it?
association.
Preserve like that?
It's not a preserve. No.
Whose is it? There's a playground according to the survey that's on. Do you know who owns it?
The association. This is a gated community.
It's an HOA?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's good for you. Nope.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Have a great night. Next application number 363-22, Wilfredo and Maritza Y. Reyes. Permission to leave two-story enclosed cellar entrance 6.7 feet by 7.1 feet, unit floor area ratio 30.8% instead of permitted 25%. This is the district south side of Kansas Avenue, number 52, 225 feet east of Brentwood Road, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Salim Ibrahim. I reside at 254-10 Francis Lewis Boulevard, Rosedale, New York, in Queens.
Thank you.
Good evening. I hope
Good evening.
everybody is well tonight. Change too high sometimes. Okay. On the application, they have a second-story cellar entrance. As you can see, the dwelling is I-ranch and it has a lower level in the first floor. The client decided to do a staircase to the backyard to go from the low level to the kitchen area on the first floor. So that's what we have right now. And he did increase the floor area from 25 to 30.8%. I know usually you approve 30%, but you went over 0.8% regarding the FAR. But it does meet all the requirements, setbacks, rear yard setbacks, and also he's looking in the back of the building. It's a very small portion of the rear yard also.
Ms. Ryan, do we have any precedent for 30%?
Complete closure. You have the pictures? No pictures? Just for a staircase only.
concern, maybe we'll ask Will, get into it. What do we do generally when we have a totally conforming neighborhood? Does that come into our thought process?
Is it conforming or does it go up to 30?
Well, it's
Yeah,
up to 30.
so that's not conforming.
Well, conforming to our confirmation process.
To the new code that we have
Yeah,
enacted.
we have our own, iClip is unique. So how do we treat that? Does that come in any way into our thinking? Is that it, everybody else meets that 30%? Factor, if we consider one factor. One reserve?
No, I don't. We can write this apart.
Who wants the grant?
We're talking about 0.8%.
So
I
the
know-
house,
I know we're at 31 in a blink of an eye.
so
I know
the,
some-
the structure that's the subject of the application is adding 1.26% to the FAR. So doing the math, that would mean that the house had a legacy FAR of 29.5%.
What's CR?
See how
I know it doesn't give the FAR, but
That's what she's saying, 29.5.
so there's no additional structures. Everything other than this is legal. It was like-
Apparently so, because it's just a two-story, it looks like the high ranch.
Quite the ranch. I don't know why they call it cellar, but it's an upgrade to the basement from one level to the other level.
We're just pulling the C out.
But they also have the floor
Cellar,
plan. You
built-in
go to the
garage,
floor
yeah,
plan also.
doesn't say two-story, plumbing fixtures, doesn't say.
So the house was built in 1963, 25 years before we had FAR. And the house was,
But they, you know, what's the difference? Here's my issue. What's the difference with a second-story deck up there on the high range with stairs coming down, or an enclosed area with stairs coming down? If what Mr. Abraham is saying is true, which I believe it is, if it's just a stairwell going down,
Enclosed.
One has an FAR that's under 30, and one doesn't. That's the
understand, but it's
difference.
0.8. We can write it properly saying that it's 0.8 over if you're putting a stairwell.
We'd never be able to deny somebody who has, if that's where we want to go. And 0.8, nobody is going to die at this level because of 0.8,
Mr.
but
Abraham,
Yes, sir.
if it's an argument, why would you do
As you guys know, most of the time I come to the board, I always try to find a solution to it and try to shave 0.08% on the structure. That's what they build already. It's very difficult. Otherwise, I will do it until we get 30%. But
when is it never a hardship? When does everybody say, oh, I'm glad you told me to cut down the side of my house?
Well-
Looking to do that.
Well, there are 5 factors. Why don't we go through those?
character and nature of the neighborhood, environmental conditions, adverse impact of environmental conditions, probably passes. Substantiality, he passes. Self-imposed hardship, he failed, but that's not fatal.
You're missing one.
I know.
It's 2-2 tie and you're blanking.
physical
I
and
know, I'm
environmental.
talking about a stage frame.
And overall, is there another way for the applicant to obtain the benefits sought without need of a variance?
Yeah, why not building it?
Well, no, you don't obtain the
Why not
benefit
building
then.
it? Then how can
It doesn't have to
anybody,
be
but
completely enclosed.
if you use that as your soul, then how can anybody?
I didn't say it's as the soul. There's
Nobody
5
can ever get the
factors. I'm
benefit.
saying, do you get 3 out of 5? You win. If you get 2 out of 5, you don't.
Actually, you're supposed to weigh the benefit to the applicant, get the detriment to be considered a flood.
Problem is, there's no detriment.
I don't,
Well,
I
I
think
think
there
there
is
is
that, except for.
Let's take a vote.
Precedent, that's the detriment to the community, you create residential effect.
Let's take a vote. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board of any further questions? Mr. McCoy, I'm going to give you the vote first. What are you doing?
Motion to deny the application for the creative schedule.
Aye. Am I the only aye?
Oh, aye.
Aye. A rare sentence.
So silly. How is this man going to cut off 0.8% notice? That's a
Standard,
disservice.
you look at everybody should just put whatever they want.
And then-
can I ask a question? If
First of all, I wasn't looking for a vote right there. I was going to go down the line. Who was going to vote for what? But
Okay. well,
you just
can
took
do
it as
way.
that. And that's
Okay,
where it
we'll
went.
do it that way.
It's over. You already voted. or the maximum.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can we try to, if you can grant it 30%, try to figure out to make it 30%? That we fine with you guys or not?
That's what we did.
Sure, that's what we did.
All right, so we have to try that right now. All right.
It's too late to ask questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening, okay?
All right, next application. Number 364-22, Ian and Marilyn Darmani. Permission to leave staircase, the second-story deck having side yard of 16.27 feet instead of required 18 feet. To leave patio inside property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. And to leave pergola having a side yard of 1.8 feet instead of required 2 feet, not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling residence AA District East side of 3rd Street, number 55, 516 feet south of 6th Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Nick Pfluger. It's Pfluger from Bowler Pfluger Architects, 85 East Main Street, Bayshore, New York, 11706.
We await your words of wisdom.
Okay. So with regards to the deck, it was originally built when the house was built in 2019. Unfortunately, the deck was not built well. It was close to falling apart or falling down. So the homeowner actually had it rebuilt by a contractor in 2021. So when the contractor rebuilt it, he did build it with the stairs and the landing as you see it on the survey. And that stairs and landing is too close to the property line at 16.27 feet. So we were hired a few months ago to legalize the deck, which is what led us here tonight. With regards to the pergola, it is an unenclosed metal pergola that was assembled from a kit, like from Home Depot or Lowe's. That was built in 2020. It is currently about 9 foot 3 inches from the front line of the dwelling. There is a 6 foot vinyl fence that's between this pergola and the street. That fence is aligned with the front line of the dwelling, so it's very hard to see from the street. If we did move the pergola back, unfortunately, it would be a very tight fit between the stairs of the deck and the side fence. So that's the reason why we're requesting to keep it where it is currently. And then for the patio, that was also built in 2020. It's brick pavers on grade, so it's only a couple inches above the grass. Both the patio and pergola were built without the homeowner really realizing that there were requirements for those kinds of structures, which is why the patio was built to the side yard fence. And in closing, we just don't think that the application will have any negative effect on the neighboring properties. So we're requesting to keep all of it as is.
Good, the chair. I have a quick question. The pergola looks like it's one of those metal, it's beautiful.
Correct.
Metal Costco type pergolas you built.
Correct.
Why can't they just move it back?
If they move it back, it will actually be a pretty tight fit between where the stairs of the deck is, the stairs and the landing, and the side yard fence. So that's why they placed it where it is now. Why they. That I do realize that unfortunately they built.
May not want to do it. What's that old maxim that Dick Shire left us with that they can comply?
Yeah, well, they built their paver patio and spent a lot of money on it in the side yard. So of course they want to keep the pergola on the paver patio.
Ouch.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
I think your biggest issue, sir, is the pergola. Not 20 feet behind it from a dwelling.
Understood.
It's hard for us to look at sheds or structures or whatnot that we don't write the code, we just have to hold it, as you know.
Mhm.
And there's obviously places that pergola can conform to. And I don't know if it's bolted down or not, but it doesn't seem like a permanent structure.
Correct. It is, one of those kits that you buy from
Yeah.
Home Depot or Lowe's. It's just, a little bit of, how should I say, a hassle if it was moved back. And again, it would be just a tight fit and, wouldn't work well with the setup that they have. But I do realize that there is a setback.
I totally get it. We have to uphold the code that we have in front of us also. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, planning, you have any objection to this? Mr. Wexler, take a motion.
I'll make the motion that deny too much of the application seeking to leave the pergola. And grant the remainder of the application.
In favor?
Aye. Next application, number 365-22, Jennifer and Louis D'Ambrosio III, permission to erect gazebo 10 feet by 14 feet, setback 12 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of the required 20 feet, to install fire pit not having 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, to leave a shed having a front yard of 7 feet instead of required 27 feet, to leave deck 2 feet high having a rear yard of 9.7 feet instead of the required 10 feet, to leave a driveway having a side yard of 0.8 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Residency District, southwest corner of Union Boulevard, number 3080 and First Avenue, East Islip, New York. Sir, ma'am, your names and addresses for the record, please.
Good evening, Board. Louis D'Ambrosio, 3080 Union Boulevard, East Islip, New York, and my wife Jennifer D'Ambrosio, 3080 Union Boulevard, East Islip, New York.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Sure you didn't like hearing the last application.
Not so much.
That's so much,
So you're not gonna-
This isn't a pergola, though.
So as we said to the last applicant, the structure, gazebo, whatever you want to call it, as I said on your survey here, gazebo, has to be 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Yours is not.
Well, we have not constructed that yet. That we're asking permission to.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What's that? I'm sorry.
So the parking lot's the place that we're looking for.
Potentially, yes, but as you can see, as our lot is pie-shaped, so there's not a lot of usable backyard as it pinches down to the side yard on it. So our goal there is to actually create an entertaining area that's close to the pool, so that we can keep eyes on the children in the pool. Anything we put it further out would put us further, obviously, away from being around the pool area.
I'm looking at the placement you have. How did you get
We built that, so we did get a variance for a 23-foot yard rear setback on that would be the southeast corner of the house. But it all meets guideline. It meets all of it. We're no closer to 23 feet from the. Yeah, this. Yep, the southeast corner.
Remember, this is just a tax. Oh, okay.
Still has property line from right to the street, whereas it should be on the other side of the sidewalk. Yeah, because it's not back there.
I think the only issue is
Yeah. The only thing that I question is this application is a little different than the last. I'm not saying it's carried today, but it is tight in the backyard. The other one prior, there was plenty of place to park it. It's a little tighter.
They could put the covered gazebo on the pavers, go back there.
Yeah, you're right. They
Right.
can move it. Yep.
Yeah. It's actually 18 feet, it says here.
Where are you suggesting? I apologize.
I'm just saying that there's room behind the pool according to your survey. Obviously, we're just looking at your survey.
Yeah. So there's actually a fence there that we put to protect, obviously, to make sure that children can't get out.
Yeah,
the
but
front
you
door.
put it behind the pool and behind the fence. There's a whole open area between the pool and the frame shed.
Yeah, that, we have there's a playhouse back there. I do see your point, though. We have our playhouse and our pool, all the filter and everything for the pool is not, is.
Yeah, and it's all on your survey. There's still plenty of room to put what you want to put over there.
Yeah, I'm not only arguing that it just puts us further away from the pool area.
Yeah. The
So-
issue is, sir, we don't write this code, and
Yeah.
we have to uphold it, and obviously, so the last application too. You know, to tell that last applicant no, and then to tell you guys yes, because, you know, I respect it, you want to
Yeah.
watch your kids be by the pool, and I get that whole thing. It's hard for us to do that.
Yeah, no, I understand precedent, on it, so.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with the other situation you have here on the rest of the application. I'll ask the board that also. I just think that covered gazebo would have to be plan B.
Okay. So are you opposed to, like, to put pavers closer to the front? Is that an area that we could utilize?
I
So
can't.
if we were not
That's
going
not
to
in
utilize,
front of us.
so we're talking about with the fire pit. Okay.
That's not in front of us.
Right.
Okay. Well, just out of curiosity, is that
By
a,
the way,
so as far as the setback from the street, is there a setback when it would come to actually just a paved area of the yard?
Well, it's not from the street, it's from the property.
From the
front line of the
correct.
dwelling,
And it's gotta be, what, 4 feet to the pavers from the property line?
also behind the front line of the dwelling is the
Okay,
problem.
so it's the covered part is what obviously we're asking for now.
So-
That's the issue at the end there. Okay. So if we did pavers though, there should be no issues with that.
As long as you don't encroach, yeah,
Just
to
close
the setback from the paver,
Okay,
which you may want to check, so you're
Yep.
not putting on that question.
absolutely.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this
Hang on,
application?
Mr. Chairman, before we start, I just want to try to avoid an.
So the denial was written in a little bit of an odd fashion, and it was written as located 12 feet ahead of the front line of the dwelling, the proposed gazebo. So the board is not happy with 12 feet behind. They're certainly not going to be happy with 12 feet ahead of.
But the problem is, even if you put it where we have suggested, you still may need relief from 12 feet behind the front line of the dwelling to extend that out, correct?
Not for the pavers, because it's.
No, for the covered gazebo, they put it here. But that's my point.
Facing Union Boulevard?
Yes.
Yeah. So, well,
So you see what I'm saying?
it puts it back where,
Or if they
roughly
put
in
it
that area
behind
where
it.
now, right?
They still
The
might.
gazebo?
Yeah, well, I know.
It should appear instead.
That's
Yeah.
on paper. It's not on paper.
That's where I was initially thinking. But on the other side of the pool, you may run into a problem, but the survey does show 12 foot on the house.
So why,
You have room to play with these 6
You're saying on the east side.
can I suggest something to you? You may want to ask us for an adjournment, work out where you want to put it, knowing that it can't go where you suggested. And then hold your application open, because that way if you have to come back, you can be recalendared fairly quickly instead of getting to the back of the line.
And you'll also know what you can do, what you can't do. Right now, you may be taking a shot in the dark, and it comes up, snake eyes.
Okay.
You'll be back in front of you.
So we'd leave the rest of the stuff open in the application.
You,
as well,
you,
correct?
you would, if, you may want to consider asking for an adjournment so that you can come back here with a different plan that may be okay with you, and then we can consider that.
And
So-
if you speak of planning during this adjournment, they'll probably get an answer to you quickly, and then you can get back on the calendar quickly.
Absolutely. So we hereby request for an adjournment on this, if possible.
Okay, I'll make the motion for the adjournment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
Second.
we'll do it, would you want to give it a
Well,
date?
he has
No.
to give us something first.
Okay.
Do I have to, do you need me to write up a request for the
No,
adjournment now?
so why don't you just contact tomorrow or next day?
You just have to submit something showing where you're gonna put it,
Okay.
the new location, okay?
Contact Ms. Ryan if you have any questions in planning, and she can help you probably figure out where to.
Okay. You want me
Don't call
to
me
approach
for
or do you want to do it after? It's up to you. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, board.
Have a great night.
Good luck.
All right, well, we're waiting for that. The next application is numbers 282 of 2022, Sabrina Murray, Permission to leave roofed over porch having a front yard of 18.6 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 20 feet. To leave porch, roofed over second story deck, stairs, and cellar entrance all having floor area ratio of 30% instead of permitted 25%. And to leave driveway located in site distance triangle, Residence B District, southeast corner of Madison Avenue, number 395 in Stockton Street, Brentwood, New York. Ma'am, your name and address for the record, please.
Sabrina Murray, 395 Madison Avenue, Brentwood, New York.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, how are you?
I'm good.
With the roof over porch, 18.6 instead of 20, that seems de minimis. The porch roofed over second story decks is 30% instead of 25. We see up to 30 on the FAR. Ooh, driveway in the site distance triangle. We can't do anything with the site distance triangle, the driveway. The part of the driveway that's in the site distance triangle, we can't do anything with that. You're gonna have to cut that out. You're gonna have to figure out how to get that out of the site distance triangle because you're on the corner and your driveway goes out into the street.
We just need the aerial.
The driveway is like this. Then the driveway comes and then you pick it up.
I understand that. So I don't know how to explain it to you a different way.
I think Ms. Pissarro wants to make a point, though.
So this is one of the rented catty corner lots in the map of Brentwood Park. And if I could show you the aerial, you could see how there's a lot of these catty corner lots.
Was the driveway originally installed by Kent?
I believe it was, yes. But
Okay.
it's probably been slightly expanded.
So, right.
So is it
So
nothing but a
it's always
driveway?
been like that. It was CO'd like that. So the question becomes whether or not that even needs to be. I
So
don't
is
know.
it, so site,
Speak up. Speak up.
It was probably widened at some point,
Okay.
slightly up toward the house, though, not near the corner.
Do we have any aerials from years gone by?
Yes.
well, let me ask
When
you
I
some-
was a young man?
let me ask them also though, site distance triangle law, if it's just a flat driveway on the ground, does that matter?
It's still the same, but
Same.
if that was there and it got CO'd, then honestly, I don't think it's even properly before us, let alone that we have the ability to deny it. Let's see what it was in the past. Can you, so that looks the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 20 years ago, it was the same. And where's the parcel? All right, so I mean, on those facts, Mr. Chairman, I would be loath to deny the application. I mean, and what year is that? Okay,
Yeah.
so, 45 years ago.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. McCauley, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
You're the first person to get site distance triangle relief from this board since I've been on it. It's a big accomplishment.
Have a great night.
Look, you got people clapping for you. Don't think that's going to let you get to the podium. All right, number 366-22. Otis Holman, permission to leave second story addition, leaving floor area ratio 30% instead of permitted 25%, to leave attached garage 12.9 feet by 19.5 feet, having rear yard of 2.7 feet, and leave concrete walkway, having a side yard of 2.5 feet instead of required 4 feet each, and to leave a cellar entrance having side yard of 5 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence B District, west side of Twin Lawns Avenue, number 186, 83 feet south of Ida Street, Brentwood, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
James Buklas, 357 Veterans Memorial Highway, Comac, New York, 11725. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sure, Bouklas.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Thanks. Thank you. How are you?
Related to Lorraine?
Yeah.
And
My,
who?
it's
How
my-
is she
my
related?
aunt.
Huh?
It's my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yeah.
She used to work for the Town of Islip Recreation Department, I think, like 30 years ago. Go ahead, I'm sorry to
Just
interrupt.
showed you
No,
age.
no, thank you. So
I
I'm
know,
here
this,
tonight.
this shows my age, Mr. Chairman. The fact that I'm gray.
I'm here tonight on behalf of Otis Holman, a dear friend and veteran, wanting to be a good neighbor, to keep a detached garage, leaving a rear yard of 2.7 feet instead of 4 feet, to keep a concrete walkway, leaving a side yard of 2.5 feet instead of 4 feet, to keep a cellar entrance, leaving a side yard of 5 feet instead of the required 14, and to keep a second story addition, resulting in an FAR of 30% rather than 25%. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. I wouldn't consider it necessarily de minimis, but I do think it's well within the realm of reasonable.
Peter, any objection from planning? Cellar entrance never to be enclosed?
I'm sorry.
Cellar entrance never to be enclosed? You can't enclose it as part of the house, the cellar entrance.
I don't think he wants to.
It's not called for on the plan. We're just asking you to agree to that. We can impose it. if
Yes,
you
and
want.
I believe that there's a picture that shows it.
No, we agree to never enclose it though.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. McCoy will take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, granted with deposition.
Please tell your aunt I said hello. See if she remembers me. I was a small young child then.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too, take care.
We just,
Always have the beer.
we just invented fire. Next application number 367-22, Gabs E. June. Permission to leave one-story addition 5.1 feet by 11 feet, having side yard of 5.2 feet instead of required 14 feet. Total side yards of 12.9 feet instead of required 28 feet. To reconstruct driveway, leaving side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. And to establish two-family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1. Residence Beat District, south side of Brightside Avenue, number 60, 75 feet west of Peters Boulevard, Central Islip. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Jose Taveras, 1156 Namdak Avenue, Bayshore, New York, 11706.
Welcome.
Taveras as in Sam.
How are you tonight, sir?
Not too bad. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're here tonight requesting to allow a side yard addition of 56 square feet, leaving a side yard of 5.2 feet instead of the required 14 feet, which the original house really had approximately 10.3 feet. As well as to allow us to maintain an asphalt driveway 1 foot from the property line instead of the required 4 feet, and to establish a two-family for family use only. My client recently bought this property for the use of his grandfather as well as his use. Since the first floor apartment had only 2 small bedrooms, that's the reason why they did the small addition. Unfortunately, they weren't aware of the zoning requirements, and so they built it. The small addition built to the permit. The other thing is that then, because of there used to be a fence about 5.3 feet, I think it was, away from the west property line. They thought that was their property, and they started to build a driveway up to that fence. Unfortunately, we found out that it's not their property, and we made them aware of it, and that's why we're proposing to cut back the driveway and the apron also. But we're only leaving a foot from the property line, so that we can try to get at least a car parked on the side of the house, on the west side of the house.
So did they have permits for anything?
On the original house, yes, but not for the addition. Yeah, well, I'm sorry?
1960.
Yes. That's it.
I just guessed 62. I was only about
They also did have a finished basement, which they bought it like that, but
So
they legalized
finished
that
basement
already.
is fine.
Right, right.
That's not my concern. My concern is they built it in addition to a house without a permit.
Yes.
Now
yes,
you're
they
in here
did.
seeking variance for that. Significant variance.
Yeah, following up on that, how do we grant 5.2? I understand the house is closed.
It's like 10.3.
So how do we, it's already closed, and how do we let them get the right to close?
No, I understand the situation, unfortunately.
5.2 instead of 14, doesn't that this rate close?
Yes, it does.
I understand it's a small addition, I just think it's too close.
Mhm.
People come in and install 50% relaxation, but this is 50%.
Mr. Tavares, was this shut down in the middle of construction?
Yes, they were stopped.
It's not finished yet.
No.
It makes me feel a little better.
Right, nobody's expensive.
I have a heart up here. I'm not sure if you saw that.
It's small.
Yes.
Small.
But it's larger than some of the others.
Larger than all the others.
Right,
Put together.
Put together. Mr. Ang would never come in.
No.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know, sir, how we, Deirdre from planning, any precedent for 5.2 on the side yard setback condition?
And the house is existing, so.
Right,
Yeah.
it is.
No, it's really
Yes.
tough situation.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It should have gotten before the
Unfortunately, they didn't.
I think the only situation here is that, in my opinion, and the board has to vote on it, is that as long as the family is always all in order, which I believe it is, based on age, right now.
It is, I just don't know if the addition in question is incorporated into the apartment.
Not the not the apartment. The apartment is on the second floor, and we're not touching that.
Okay. So, as I was saying, I believe that everything else seems to be okay, other than, in my opinion, other than that addition. So we'll take a vote on it. And, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take it more. All in favor?
Thank you.
Have a good night, sir.
Have a good night. Next application number 368-22, Robert Abramson, permission to leave roof over, having a side yard of 11 feet instead of required 14 feet and rear yard of 13 feet instead of required 25 feet. Shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Patio on rear property line and fire pit having rear yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet each. And a 6-foot fence on the property line not having required setback of 15 feet. Residence AAA District, east side of Lakeside Drive, number 107, 184.65 feet south of Bridal Way, Oakdale. Sir and ma'am, your names and addresses for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. Robert Abrahamson, my wife Karina Abrahamson, 107 Lakeside Drive, Oakdale, New York, 11769. We too are owners of the dreaded pie-shaped property.
It's a theme tonight.
which is really part of the problem. We bought the house back in 2015. We had a bamboo infestation, which we got rid of about 3-4 years ago. And looking at this, I don't know if that map shows, but the whole side of the house is bamboo. So everything in question is kind of on that side of the house. We basically don't have a backyard. We did put a pool in, which I was in contact with the DEC. We have a creek next door. That got approved. So we did a couple other things. If I could address, I guess, each one, or I'm not sure how to do this.
Hang on. Chairman, do you see any issue with anything here except for the 6-foot fence?
Nothing except for the 6-foot fence, and I was just trying to see if this lot area was a little smaller than what you normally see, but it's not.
What's this note on the survey that says neighbor installed fence? So is that not your fence?
It's not our fence. That was there. So the 2-foot fire pit problem, we went 2 feet away from his fence.
Don't worry about the fire.
So that's
Just for the moment, don't worry about
That's
it. I mean,
why
the chairman will deal with that. My question really has to do with the 6-foot fence. If it's not your fence,
Oh, no, that one is our fence. But again, it's the
one
front
on
of the
Lakeside
property.
Drive is your fence.
Say again?
Lakeside Drive is your fence, you're saying?
Yes.
The one next to the fire pit's not
I
your
see.
fence.
The back one, the fire pit is the one we didn't do.
I see.
That one we did, because if you could look at the pictures, we really don't have a backyard. So if that went to the 15-foot setback, it kind of cuts the whole backyard out. And they made us put the pool behind the front of the house
Sure.
when we wanted to put it out in the front. And I mean, I lined it up with the guy next door to us, which I thought was okay.
I don't understand something. You're saying if you put that fence back 15 feet, you won't have a backyard?
Right, because it'll basically come pretty close to where the pool is. So that whole thing right now is like a little grass section.
Well, I see. You're talking about a different side. All right. I
think
got
it's
you.
the north
Yeah,
side.
thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then if we did a 4-foot fence, which is 8, the thing is 8 feet now, but if we did a 4-foot, then basically there's no privacy or anything. And we're trying to obviously keep people out of the backyard for the pool. The pool is approved, so the whole reason we're here is because the pool's not happening until we can get everything
It's all a consequence.
situated.
All right, so here's the two situations that I see. And we have to discuss it with the board. The frame shed's not 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, and it's actually in front of the front line of the dwelling. And that's the code that we didn't write, we just have to uphold. I know it's hard because you don't have much area for it. I get the whole argument.
Yeah, that's just it's just on 4x4s. We just put it there to hope keep the pool stuff because we really have nowhere else to put it.
So it can be moved though?
Oh yeah.
You may have to move it to the other side, behind the front line. There's nothing to do about that. You've heard other people come in here regarding structures in front of the house.
That's why I didn't put it in the ground, just in case.
Yes. The 6-foot high fence that's on Lakeside Drive.
We did put it, I think it's 8 feet back. Kind of even, I'm not trying to throw any. It's
How
even with the
far
guy
is it
next
from
door
your
to me.
concrete curbing?
Excuse me?
You have concrete curbing? in
Yes.
front of that?
Yeah. I put a bunch of pictures in. I don't know if you guys got them.
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
So you're 8 feet.
It's just, it's the front of the house. We don't have
Our
the backyard.
problem is our chairman. We see these every single day. And we have granted variance. The code says we've gone up to 12 now.
How big is this one?
This is 16. This is so much, we deny so many others in that delta between 12 and 16.
The length of the fence or something?
No, it's the size of your lot. Mr. Wexler, did you see these photos? It may be instructive.
What is the distance
It's actually 8.5 feet.
the curb
And the
and
fence.
the weight?
I believe it's 8 feet.
8.5 feet.
8 feet?
Got the roof?
Okay.
It's 8 feet and the code requires 10?
15 from,
No, no, no.
unless it's 4 feet.
The
Wait,
eight
Oh, you
feet,
guys
the
count.
8 feet is town right of way.
all right, so it requires.
Right, but the point is that it has the same impact. It's
Otherwise, it would be a
impact,
4 foot.
And it honors the spirit of the code. That's the argument, whether you accept it or not.
That's what we were trying.
Right, understood.
My neighbors love it.
I'm fine with it. I should-
I don't have an issue either. I mean, yeah.
I think as long as we highlight this fact, like so well shake his head, that's good.
So the shed's your only real issue, I believe, right now.
So you're willing to move the shed, right?
Yeah.
Good. There you go.
Does anyone
Solve
wish to be
that.
heard in this application? Board of any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'm making a motion to deny so much the application, seeking to leave the frame shed where it is, the application, and grant the remainder of the application, particularly with the fence, because our code in spirit, in spirit, therefore, grant the same God.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you
job.
very much.
Have a great night. Next application, number 369-22, Brian and Lisa Neal, to permission to erect a two-story dwelling with a floor area ratio of 30.9% instead of permitted 25%. Convert accessory building to a cabana, leaving a side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet, and height of 15 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to install walkway, leaving a front yard occupancy of 13.6% instead of the permitted 12%. Residence Beat District, south side of Root Avenue, number 100 feet west of Roosevelt Avenue, Islip, New York. Mr. Ang, welcome, and name and address for the record, please.
Christopher Ang, 93 Main Street, West Sable, 11796. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. We are proposing a two-story dwelling on this property, and the two-story dwelling is going to bring the FAR up to 30.9, and also the walkway looks like it's over on the lot coverage on the front. And we would like to maintain the existing structure that's been on the property, and that has a 2-foot setback instead of the 4-foot required, and also is taller than the 14 feet allowed for an accessory structure.
Why do you need a cabana 15 feet instead of 14? Kind of deep.
It's
That's a good question. Why do you need a cabana at all? I don't know.
uh, it's an existing. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. This is an existing structure, so it's existing at the 15 point.
You're just converting the use.
That's correct.
Okay. It's already there.
But if I was building it new, Mr. Wexler, I would build it at 14 feet. But
Ang, I have no doubt that
Is there going to have to be plumbing in this cabana?
they're allowed to have a half bathroom, but not a shower by code. A toilet and a sink, no shower. The shower has to be outside. That's correct.
So then the entirety of the structure counts in FAR, right, because of the plumbing in it?
That's a good
I think
question.
the answer is yes.
Actually, hold on one second.
If there's plumbing in it, it's my understanding that it counts in floor area ratio.
Okay, I do have it in the floor area ratio. Sorry, 488
Very good.
at 30.9. I'm sorry. I had to think
Is there
about
any objection for planning?
All right.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we keep the application.
Second.
In favor?
Thank you.
Next application, number 370-22, Stephen and Stephanie Nemechek. Permission to erect a two-story addition, 13 feet by 30.3 feet, and roofed over porch, leaving a side yard of 8.7 feet instead of required 14 feet, and one-story addition, 13.2 feet by 14 feet portico, leaving a total side yards of 24.6 feet instead of required 28 feet, all having a floor area ratio of 27.9% instead of permitted 25%. Residence Beat District, west side of Roosevelt Avenue, number 44, 518.7 feet north of Easy Street. That's where I want to live. Sayville, New York. Mr. Ang, welcome. This one's right around the corner, huh?
Yes, right around the corner. This one, we're building several structures. In the rear, we're building some one-story structures, one portico, and an extension of the kitchen and the mudroom. What requires a variance is the structure that we're building to the side of the existing building, the north side of the existing building. And that requires an FAR of 27.9, and we're looking to reduce the side yard from 14 feet to 8.7. I have one case here that reduced the side yard setback from 14 down to 7. So I'd like to,
Is it within 500?
yes. Yes. I looked though at the map of the neighborhood, and I feel like there's a few houses that are at that setback.
That's kind of hard for us to quantify.
I would say I found probably four houses at the setback that we're asking for.
I know I don't ask an open-ended question.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to quantify a couple.
Yeah, it is not the majority; it's the minority.
But there's only one leak.
Well, no, I have to argue that because they're legal and CO'd, but the board has granted one of those side yards.
But you don't know the ones that were observed. You don't know whether they're legal or not.
No, I don't. But no, I don't.
There you go.
Mr. Shire gave a 7-foot side.
That's the nature of it.
Wait, on this application or in the similar?
Number 50.
He gave one on this.
That's why I was saying, why are we here?
Not on this application. I'm sure in the-
Okay.
It says it was staying in line with the house on the north side.
I mean, none of the relief, to me, none of the relief in and of itself seems significant.
The only thing that could be again is the roof over that close.
Serious. What do you find?
Oh,
Yeah, but
How far
I
is the
do.
house next to it, did you? Or Mr. Hank?
The houses north to it on their north sides are actually about 7 feet away. Yeah.
Next to.
Can they cut back the
Behind
roof
that
over
house.
or something? The roof over.
If yes, the roofed over porch, we'd be willing to cut that back.
All right, that's moving in the right direction. So
Okay.
now it's just a matter of how much.
Deirdre,
Can we make it 10 feet?
Sorry, could you do us a favor and just zoom in on the aerial? Us old people down this end are having a hard time. So the skew is really off on this one. The blue lines need to shift downward.
Yeah.
So Mr. Messina is asking what's next door.
So
Thank you.
my problem, Mr. Ang, is that, as Ms. Pissarro pointed out correctly, it's a 30-foot wall, 2-story wall to the adjoining parcel. It's pretty close.
No, I understand. I would like to point out, but the neighbor just to the north and the neighbor to the north of that neighbor, those two, the south-facing wall and their north-facing wall are similar to what I'm asking for.
Yeah, except it's immediately, I mean, it has an impact on the house right next door, right?
But it looks like that's a 2-story house next door.
I guess.
Pretty tight.
Yeah, I would guess that neighbor is probably around 10 feet from the property line.
Well, I was saying, if my thoughts are, if you're willing to cut back 10 feet instead of 8.7, that may be a little more palatable to the board.
Would 9 feet be palatable?
I'm trying to be solid.
Yeah,
Not Sam.
yeah, that one I would have to. I may have to adjourn this one just because that's something. If we went from,
You want to talk to your
8.9 to
client.
10, then that would be a decision I
That's
don't think I
reasonable.
can
Our
make.
chairman.
How far would that you like to?
I think that says yes. You can get your money.
Okay.
Make a motion to, is anyone here to speak? I'm sorry.
If anyone would like to be heard in this application?
Then I'll make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
you want to just contact the office when you're ready to get back on?
I think I could set the date now, if possible.
She's the boss, so whatever she says.
I would like to talk to the boss.
I can't even talk to the boss.
June 21?
Perfect. Thank you.
Really?
Have a great night, sir.
Thank you.
Next application is adjourned, right?
Next application is adjourned. That's Ricardo Lopez and Jennifer Salvatore.
That application's been adjourned to June 7th.
Okay, and that is 107 Edmore Lane, if anyone's here on it. Next application to be heard is number 372-22, William S. Miller. Permission to erect a second-story addition and two-story addition, being a front yard of 24.5 feet instead of required 25 feet, side yard of 12.83 feet instead of required 14 feet, and floor area ratio of 30% instead of permitted 25%. Residency District east side of Asheroken Boulevard, number 1725, 162.5 feet south of Chenango Drive, Bayshore, New York. Mr. Dunn, welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Michael Dunn, DUNN, at 256 Orinoco Drive, Bright Waters, New York, 11718.
Would you say a 6-inch relaxation is substantial?
No, not up to this board.
Okay.
Seems like everything on here is within our parameters. Some seem de minimis, and we see if 30% of that they are. Unless you want to state your case for the record.
No, you said it all right there.
Right.
All
Does
right.
anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Rexler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion.
I'll second and congratulate Mr. Dunn on the best presentation of the year.
He's got another one.
Yeah, well, he can blow it on the next one, but this one he's doing good.
This one's a little bigger.
All right. Next application, number 373-22, Carol M. Joseph. Permission to erect two-story dwelling, leaving a rear yard of 20 feet, and second-story cantilevers, leaving a rear yard of 24 feet, instead of the required 25 feet each, to install hot tub, leaving rear yard of 9 feet instead of required 10 feet, to erect decking, leaving rear yard of 9 feet and side yard of 12 feet instead of required 15 feet each, to install a sanitary system 24 inches above grade, leaving a front yard of 5 feet instead of required 15 feet, floor area ratio of 30.68% instead of permitted 30%, to erect an entrance walk, leaving a side yard of 3.5 feet instead of required 4 feet, Residence BAA District, west side of Atlantic Avenue, number 27, 180 feet south of Central Walk, Seaview. Mr. Dunn, all yours.
So Mrs. Joseph is planning on building her dream house over in Seaview as a summer residence. We are asking for the rear yard of 20 feet instead of 25. That is a one-story part of the house for a mudroom kind of entrance off the pool area. And everything else is very de minimis in the ask. She is asking for the deck and the hot tub and the pool house in the rear. And the walkway on the north side is kind of a brick walkway that's been there that we're asking for that 3.5 instead of 4 feet.
This is so tame.
She has a nice big lot there.
Ms. Ryan, any objection from planning?
Thank
you. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, take it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Next application, number 374-22, Joanne and Vincent Safraza. Permission to erect a second-story addition, 14 feet by 23.6 feet, leaving a side yard of 7.6 feet instead of required 14 feet, and floor area ratio of 34.54% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, west side of Richland Boulevard, number 1428, 80 feet north of Sioux Drive, Bayshore, New York. Ma'am, your name and address, actually both of you, your names and addresses for the record, please.
Janine Klein, Vincent Sferaza, 1428 Richland Boulevard, Bayshore.
All right.
Klein, Klein.
And sir, your
by
name?
the way, you said Sferaza, really good.
Thank you. Ms. Pissarro thinks I always get names wrong, but I think she's wrong. Thank you.
We're requesting to erect the current second floor addition over the current first floor converted garage. The side yards and the front and rear yards will not be touched. The reason for the erection is my parents are 67 years of age and continuing to get older. Myself, 37, with a family of 5. We can't financially afford to purchase a house. The extension would be for an additional living area that would be beneficial for the both of us, where I could be there to take care of my parents, help them financially, as well as them helping us financially. I understand that it is a little bit over the FAR, but it would be a great deal of help. I did do a FOIL request to the town of Islip where we did receive 4 FAR results within our area of 500 feet, the largest being of 33.5.
Good.
There are also houses within the neighboring.
And what about the setback? Do you have any precedent? for
There,
that?
that's how we purchased the house.
No. Oh.
There's no
I
change.
see what you, I see
It's
what
going
you're
to be on top of the existing
Garage, prior
That's
garage
already
conversion.
finished.
Yeah, I know, but I'm asking about other houses in the area that have the same setback that got variance relief. Are there any of those?
I
No, it's
have
okay.
the FOIL requests and the
Okay,
answers
well,
that I
Ms. Ryan will help us.
Also, if Ms. Ryan, do we have any precedent for a second floor addition? Problem is, you're already kind of close, now you want to double.
No. It would, like I said, it would go over the existing structure.
Right, Mr. Wexler's saying you're gonna go up a whole floor. Usually when you go up, you have to be set back even further.
So you say 7.6, but each house has approximately 8 feet on their property side of the house. It's really 15 feet between the two.
Yeah, but you're supposed to each have 15, and so you're really supposed to have
No,
30.
that's how every
I-
house.
I'm
that's
just,
how every house
sir,
in the
I'm just pointing out,
You can't use the guy next door, the woman's next door property to say, see, you got 15 feet.
although it mitigates.
But we
impact.
can-
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that's the way those houses were built.
Right, at
It's
one
seven-
story though.
It's seven, no, they were one story.
Right. So we'll find out from planning if there is precedent that permit us to do so.
About 30%. Okay.
Do
Okay.
you understand that there was a previous grant on your home, it wasn't you?
No.
it wasn't us.
There was a previous grant that said, okay, we'll let you build at this close to the property line, but predecessor board, I don't know.
We've been in that house since '99.
The board understood the same dilemma we have. We'll let you do it, but only one floor. It was conditional.
But in fairness, that was 33 years ago, and things have changed in 33 years.
What's changed in 33 years with respect to 7.6 feet?
Well, how you calculate the FAR, for example, has changed in 33 years.
Right, but even
So
if,
they would have been compliant with the 30% under the old calculation, is what Ms. Ryan's telling us.
right, but this.
Am I wrong?
I
So the main part of the application was permission to erect that second story that you see there.
That's all I want. Please.
That was,
Get down on my knees and beg.
Even, I know, even if the FAR, let's say, was the equivalent, I don't think it is, we have the second floor at 7.6. So you're taking a already tight area and doubling the size. That's what concerns me. I mean, it's intrusive. If you allow everybody to do it, it's going to look like a really spot.
But
There are
but the
there are
hang
numerous.
on, ma'am.
I'm
Hang on,
sorry.
Hang on. I'm looking at the prior variance grant, and it's for a second story addition, leaving side yards of 8 feet and 7.7 feet. So it's already been granted a second story at 7.7. It's a second story addition,
right, that's it.
leaving side yards of 8 feet and 7.7.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not typically a fan of that, but this doesn't offend me for whatever reason. but, I mean, why don't we? Because, go
Where,
ahead.
could you tell us where the precedent is located for the 33.5?
Is, I apologize, sorry. The 33.5 application, this was the FAR.
God bless you.
Correct, yes.
1435 what?
North Windsor Avenue.
Thank you.
Sorry, just going through the papers.
I think. Okay.
So you called the office and you mentioned that you're really hopeful to have a second kitchen here.
We don't need it. I'm just trying to figure out any possible way that you guys would approve this. If we need to change it to a 2-family, if that would approve it, I understand that doesn't change the FAR either way. We're just really hopeful that this could occur. I mean, in the current climate and the way the houses are, we just can't financially do it. I mean, I ran out a lot of money doing in vitro to even get my kids and, my parents, them financially, me financially. It's really hard. No, we don't have to have it. If we get the additional living area, I just thought if we got the 2-family home, if that was a necessity, it would grant a kitchen. We didn't apply for that. We just applied for the original variance.
It's us. So the applicant was hopeful that we could amend the call of the meeting to also incorporate the request for 2-family family use only.
If that was needed in order to grant the addition.
Going toward a reserve, you might want to adjourn this.
Yeah, would you like to re-advertise for 2-family family use only? Is that what you're asking?
Not if you're going to approve it, which is the way it is.
Doesn't look hopeful for that tonight.
Not tonight,
Anyway.
but so if you're going to be, I believe we're going to reserve decision. We're going to take a vote on it, which gives us some time to discuss it, behind closed doors, and really look into the neighborhood and see if we can do the best we can for you guys. You all, I should say.
My mother, she just can't get up
We're
and
going to
down.
ask if anyone wants to be heard in a second. But if you're looking to possibly re-advertise for 2-family family use only, which you may be entitled to, I'm not sure at this moment.
Again, like
we
I said,
can give
that's
you an adjournment.
no,
and
and
then
I
you can
understand.
re-advertise.
That's only again that you have to discussion. That's only if this would not get approved.
Okay.
If that is, in your opinion, the only way that it would be approved.
So I think you're missing my point here. If we reserve
Yes.
and it does not get approved for some argument's sake, I'm not saying it's going to happen. You can't, you re-advertise that for 2-family family use only, you still need the extension.
No, I know.
So what we're saying is if you're really looking to re-advertise a 2-family family use only, we're going to reserve anyway. You can take an adjournment, we can re-advertise, we can go through this again.
In the same amount of
The
time,
same
you'd
amount of
have a
time.
decision, but on both applications.
Okay. Can I ask you an honest opinion question? Does
If you're
the
asking me what we're thinking we're going to do, I can't answer that.
no? But would it make a difference?
That's not for me to answer to you. If you want 2-family
No.
families only.
I got it. Listen, let me cut you off.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
going to make a
trying-
motion to adjourn this, okay?
Okay.
Because I want, or I rather, excuse me, to reserve this. Because there's a lot of things I want to look at. Ordinarily, I'd say no to this right out of the box. There are some compelling factors here, I think, that make me want to re-examine it.
I appreciate that.
Chances are that that's going to happen anyway. So the
Okay.
question is, do you want to come back with a 2-family family use only properly in front of us? Or do you want to just come back on the same application? It's going to take the same amount of time.
Sure, we'll do it both ways. Yes.
All right, there we
Okay.
go.
So take a jump.
Except let's hear the public. There's
Does
someone
anyone
else.
wish to be heard in this application?
Ma'am, I see you.
That's just mom.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Mom.
I was hanging out.
That's Joanne.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Reserve.
Are we reserve? I'm sorry.
Oh, adjourn.
Well,
That's- you're right,
adjourn
adjourn.
to get the other document.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
So you just need to get us the documentation that.
I
will
actually
show
have
that you
most of
can
it here.
Comply with the ordinance, 2-family family use only, because it's permitted as long as you comply.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
when would we adjourn
then you'll have
for?
all your decisions all at once.
When would we adjourn for?
That depends on when you get us the paperwork.
I have most of it here right now.
You can't file it here.
Okay.
So you want, yeah, submit it and then we'll.
It's the birth certificates are here. That's the only additional difference outside of any medical letter, which it states can or cannot be needed, may or may not be needed.
Well, we
You-
either
you-
go by age or medical, we can discuss that on there. I
67
think you'll
with
be all right, in my opinion, with that, but I think you just have to submit it to the zoning board, right?
Yes,
The
and it'll
application.
likely be
well, it was the same application. I think it was just the
Ma'am,
additional
listen to Ms.
documents, correct?
Pissarro, please. She'll help you.
June 21st works. Just
Okay.
bring us in the documents.
Okay, thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right?
Have a great night.
Have a great night.
Yeah, take care.
Next application, number 375-22, Veroj Gregorian, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Town Code 668-602, Residence AA District, southwest corner of Pond Road, number 2496 in Erie Street, Ronkonkoma, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Larry Buscemi for Select Permits, P.O. Box 679, Mount Sinai, New York.
How are you tonight, sir?
Well, I was fine till I heard them referring to 67 as being elderly.
55 is a senior
Well,
citizen.
I'm not that far from it. Yeah. I'm within the decade, I'll put it that way.
I'm going to be a decade older by the time we hear the application with all this chit chat. So
All
why
right.
don't you make your application?
Just pass this one, it's good.
So, permission to establish accessory apartment, apartment 725 square feet, property complies, everything else is in order, correct, ma'am?
Everything's in order.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina?
Motion to grant
Here, 3
for a
years.
period of 3 years. Yes, sorry. You got me out of practice.
All in favor?
Aye. Next application, number 376-22, Paul Holman, Lynn Holm as joint tenants with right of survivorship. Permission to leave porch. Having a front yard of 34.3 feet instead of required 40 feet, shed attached to detached garage. Having a side yard of 5 feet instead of required 10 feet, and platform and concrete area on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet each. Residence AA District 278 cluster, west side of Skylark Drive, number 24. 97.06 feet north of Spiral Road, Holtsville, New York. Mr. Buscemi, welcome back.
Thank you again. As you can see, there are 3 structures involved in this application. Let's start with I believe the front porch to me seems relatively de minimis in character and keeping with the neighborhood. It's a 5-foot relief, 5.7 feet, 5.9 feet. With the front yard setback. As far as the shed, it's somewhat illusory because the shed is actually, it's being made part of the garage to come up that 700 square feet, but it shares only a single wall with the garage. And if the homeowner chose to, he could just build a 4th wall, and then the shed would be standalone and would be in compliance, at least not with the setback, but with the size requirement.
And what's the point of the statute? All it has to do is look at what all separated. Isn't it prevented from having large structures that go to the property line?
Right, but he could circumvent the statute.
Well, statutes are designed to be certain. But I'm saying, when you put it together, now you have what looks like a single large structure.
We do, which by the way is in line with the side of the garage, so it's no closer to the property line than the garage itself, and it's much lower than the garage.
It's about 300 square feet.
Yes.
And what's behind you, municipal property, it says?
Yeah, it's the I believe Nichols Road, or I think Nichols. It's a major roadway, either Nichols or
And where the north, I guess you'd call it, the north side of the property to the north, this structure is in someone's backyard, right? Not
right.
against the house
That
or
would
whatever?
be in someone's backyard.
So the sheds above the town property,
No, the ones I believe you're saying there was a container on the property which is being removed. That's what's abutting the town property. Then there's a small shed which is not subject to this application, and then you can see the frame garage and framed shed on the survey.
what
Which-
is the combined square footage of frame garage and frame shed?
That's 700 square.
Do you know if we have any compressed?
I have not found any, but we can require planning. And the other, while we're talking, the other structure is a wood platform that's ground level. which could easily be cut back or moved if necessary. But if there's
I'm sorry, Mr. Buscemi, you were calling up. Can you point out where the sheds are?
absolutely.
It looks like it's on close to you. Oh, I see. I got it. Okay, thank you.
So you don't happen to have any photos, right? I don't think any were filed with your application.
No, not of that.
So it says less than 500.
However, it is sui generis. It's a unique situation because it's essentially a lean-to shed attached to the back of a garage.
I mean, it sounds good. Would you like to submit some photographs that our chairman agrees with me?
I think we need to see some photos.
Yeah, if it really is that de minimis, that's the word to say.
Well,
If that de minimis, we'd like to see.
Oh, I don't think a 40% relaxation is de minimis. I'm not making that point
No,
at
no,
all.
no, I'm saying if it's simply a lean-to.
It's unobtrusive is what I
That's
think,
the-
Mr. Webb.
That's the word I should have. It's an SAT. It's unobtrusive. That may be compelling. We don't know.
All right,
I'd like to see the unobtrusiveness.
of the shed. Okay.
Maybe
Fair
we'll-
enough.
Maybe we'll reserve decision and you can submit some photos.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Rather than adjourn it, I'd rather just reserve.
Give
And,
it a week, you give me 2 weeks, and we can submit the photos, and then we can start our.
yeah,
at
that's
that
that's
point.
absolutely fine.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board of any questions? Mr. Messina, take a motion.
Motion to reserve decision with the applicant having 2 weeks to submit photographic evidence, and then our clock will run from then for the 62 days.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Favor?
Have a great night.
Have
Thank
a
you,
great night,
sir.
sir.
Next application number 377-22, Florinda and Rosa M. Canales. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to ISO Town Code Section 68602, Residence B District, northeast corner of Fifth Avenue, number 1787 and Kirk Street, Bay Shore, New York. Ladies, when you get here, take your time, name and address for the record, please.
Good evening.
My name is Rosa Canales. And 1787 Fifth Avenue, Beach, New York.
Welcome.
How are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
Good. And you are just,
Hi, my name is Katie Dinarth, and I'm just like serving as like an interpreter. She doesn't understand some things.
thank you so much. So establishing accessory apartment, apartment 777 square feet. The driveway does not comply to engineering. Do they tell you what you need to fix to make it comply? Two aprons exist.
No, please.
Looks like it's right here.
One is stone, and that's the kind of rights of specifications.
She explained to her what she needed.
Speak up.
She explained to her what she needed to do to fix the driveway.
There's some changes to the driveway that the engineering division wants. Are you willing to make some changes to the driveway? One is stone.
Yeah, she is compliant with any changes to the driveway.
Okay. So willing to make changes to the driveway.
Okay, so what we'll do, I believe, we're gonna take a vote on it, but we'll approve the accessory apartment as long as engineering approves your driveway. So you're gonna have to get that approval, and then you'll be good with the accessory apartment. But we'll do this tonight, so you don't have to come back, but you're gonna have to deal with engineering for the driveway.
perfectly in favor of it. So, right.
She would like to know what further compliance she needs for the driveway.
That would, you'd have to deal with engineering for that. They denied it because there's two aprons. One is stone and not to the town of Islip specification. I guess one of the openings is all just stone. You have two openings. You technically have two driveway openings. That's what your survey shows.
She was told to close the gate and allow for grass to like raise, but she was compliant in doing.
Well, if that's the case, that's fine. They're showing it's denied right now, engineering department, so we'll approve the apartment with, you have to be compliant with engineering, you have to speak with engineering. So either way, you can get out of this procedure of this part right now and just deal with engineering and whatever, they usually do the right thing and help everyone out, so whatever they say to do, just do, and they'll pass it and you get your.
Oh, she's fine with that. Yeah.
I can't do
So she's fine with that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
There's nothing else I hate to be this way, but there's nothing else we can do. We can approve it with that, they have to approve it later, so. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. McCoy, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor? All right.
Next application number 378-22, Edwin Fuentes. Permission to leave one-story addition and roofed over patio having rear yard of 19.3 feet instead of required 25 feet and floor area ratio of 33.6% instead of permitted 25%. And to leave shed having a rear yard of 1.5 instead of 2 feet. Residency District 278 cluster south side of Mill Lane, number 68. 485.65 feet west of East Forks Road, Bay Shore. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Mitch Brendel, Integrity Expediting, office located at 2800 Middle Country Road, Lake Grove, New York, 11755. Agent for the applicant. Good evening. Doing very well. Thank you, Chairman. Board members, how are you?
Doing great, thanks.
Excellent. So before the board this evening, we're seeking permission to maintain an existing rear addition to this home with a roofed over brick patio. What I would like to point out first is that this addition did exist prior to my client's purchase of the home. So
Yeah, but if it was illegal, what does it matter? Tell us why we should
Understandable.
go over the 30% that is normally granted for these applications and give you 33 point whatever.
rather than proposing at the time an alteration that would reduce the FAR, we are seeking permission to maintain what is already there and constructed. I do understand that 25% is the limit, and the board has in the past gone up to 30%. We are just seeking to maintain what is existing.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any precedent for anything over 30?
That's right.
Well, you know our lines are 30.
Sure.
I'm sure you sat in a couple of applications tonight at 32.
Yes.
Um,
I would like to ask a question, if that's okay. The roof over the brick patio is not counting towards the FAR, or does that count?
It does.
It does. Okay.
So you could probably, I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure you can do some calculations and see if you can reduce that, and maybe that will take you down to 30.
Okay.
So what we could do tonight, I believe, is approve you at 30. The shed seemed de minimis, and the roof built with patio 19.3 instead of 25. I don't have an issue with that. I would have to take a vote on the board for that, but we'll be at 30 now. You get there, you get there.
It's on the plan.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. McCoy, I'll take a motion. In favor?
All right. Next application number 379-22, Jeffrey and Laura Goldshar. Permission to erect two-story addition, leaving front yard of 31.5 feet instead of required 40 feet. Second story deck, leaving a side yard of 12.7 feet instead of required 18 feet, and to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68602, Residence AA District, northeast corner of Yale Avenue, number 105, and Riverdale Avenue, Oakdale. Sir, you're back on.
Here I am.
Welcome back.
You need your name again?
Yes, please. Name and address again. For me.
Sure. Mitch Brendel, address 2800 Middle Country Road, Lake Grove, New York, 11755.
Good evening again.
Good evening again.
So you, two-story addition, 31.5 instead of 40. I guess this is really on the catty corner on this property, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like this is triangle. How come that didn't get written up for that? It's the same as the other one. Answer first.
Second story deck, side yard of 12.7 instead of 18, bless you.
Where's the deck?
And accessory apartment, 496 square feet, driveway complies. The second story deck seems to be right in that corner where it's catty cornered to the east side. Anyone on the board have an objection with that? I know the second story decks are a little bit tricky, but there's only one little corner right here.
Oh, Mr. Wax.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wax, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
With the apartment being
With the
With the apartment for 3 years.
The apartment for
Okay.
Next application,
Thank
number 381-22, Louis and Mary Elizabeth Del Pizzi, excuse me. Permission to leave reconstructed boathouse 18.4 feet by 40.4 feet. That's all right, I'll get back to it.
All right.
Rear property line not having required setback of 10 feet, Residence A District, west side of Sea Palms Lane East, number 98, 884.92 feet north of Eaton Lane, West Islip. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Louis Deli Pizzi. My address is 98 Sequoms Lane East, West Islip, New York. I am the homeowner and applicant.
How are you tonight?
Very good, sir.
So I'm assuming this was a boathouse and you just reconstructed it and they threw you back here, is that correct?
Yes, sir, in the exact same footprint. And we've submitted surveys dating back decades that show that the boathouse is reconstructed in the same position.
You know, I heard there's not many boathouses, legal boathouses in the country.
I don't know how, seems like a lot of people happen to come here.
Well, that's our position.
think there's only five
It's
or-
our understanding, sir, that we're here because planning department was in the understanding or the belief in their position was that the reconstruction repair made it new construction.
Correct.
And that being a boathouse, they had to go through ZBA to get approval.
No
for
worries.
maintenance.
I believe there's only, and I could be way wrong, but I believe there's only like 5 boathouses in town.
We've done some research on that, sir. There's about a dozen in the town of Islip jurisdiction.
Okay.
Close to me, within a quarter mile, there's about 5 or 6.
That's cool.
There's one about 300 feet away by the way the crow flies. I've submitted pictures
Yeah,
of it.
but do you know if they were all legal or not?
In fact, the one that is at 140 Sequoms Lane Center, which is about 300 feet from me, was demolished and reconstructed legally with the town's approval.
I don't think you have any problem. I'm just so curious about boathouses.
Yeah, it is.
Not
Yeah.
right.
It's interesting.
It is very interesting. I'm sorry, sir?
He stays up at night.
I like boathouses.
Nothing wrong with that.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next application number 380-22. Dorothy Wandel. Permission to subdivide a lot into two parcels. Lot 1 to leave a two-story dwelling on conforming lot, resulting in floor area ratio 29.2% instead of permitted 25%. And Lot 2 to erect two-story dwelling on a lot having a width of 60 feet instead of required 75 feet. To install driveway, leaving side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. Resident Beat District, east side of Greeley Avenue, number 128, 371.11 feet north of Brook Street, Sayville. With my apologies for taking you out of turn. I'm sorry about that. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
George Koinoglu, architect, 370 Green Avenue, Sayville, New York. Sure, Koinoglu.
How are you tonight, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
You're doing well.
Good. If the board approves these variances, we certainly wouldn't be setting any precedent in the area. We found over 30 sites that have 60 feet width, front and frontage, or less.
Mr. Chairman, you know this area real well.
I'm your neighbor.
Are
There
you?
you go.
Pretty much.
So, there you go.
And a good neighbor, I hope.
I'm a wonderful neighbor.
He's a model citizen, sir.
I would assume so. So we're really not asking for anything else that a lot of the border sites have. In fact, one site's only 47 feet in width. As per the FAR, we found at least 5 other sites and houses that were over 30% FAR. 3 are within the 500 foot
There's one
radius,
right next door.
and a couple are just outside of that radius.
You're not even asking for over 30%, are you?
No, I think we came out to 29,
29.
29 and change.
And we see up to 30% anyway, as a board. So you.
Chairman, it's a mutual character that the neighborhood and the over 60 feet.
I think Greeley Avenue does have, can we stretch out that area? You can look at the registry. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually scattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ms. Ryan, how many 60 footers are in the area? Do you know? 9 out of how many? Okay, so about a quarter.
And one last thing, as per the driveway, we found 4, 6, 8.
I don't know. I may be alone, but I don't think anyone's worried about your drive.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Ladies, what are you here for? Oh, you're here for this application? Oh, okay, because there were no others left, so. Sir, what are you here for?
His last application.
Oh, okay. You know why? Because I skipped over and I went back. I apologize, sir.
Have a great night.
Eliodoro Weaver Aguilar, permission to leave a roofed-over patio, 20 feet by 31 feet, on a side property line, not having required setback of 14 feet. Leave a floor area ratio of 26.1% instead of 25%. Leave above-ground pool having side yard of 9.6 instead of required 14 feet. Leave a pool deck having side yard of 9 feet instead of required 10 feet. Leave a shed having rear yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 2 feet. To leave shed having side yard of 2 feet and rear yard of 1.7 feet instead of required 4 feet each. And to leave a driveway having a side yard of 1 foot and a driveway having a side yard of 1.4 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residency District, north side of Noble Street, number 67, 333 feet east of Broadway, Brentwood, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Angel Aponte, APONTE. I reside at 1330 Washington Avenue, Bayshore, New York,
Welcome back.
11706. I am the agent here for Mr. Eliodero Aguilar. And what we have here are these existing items. I can agree with you that a few of these are outside of what you typically will approve, but I'm here to present them and take whatever you guys are willing to give me.
Can I cut it apart and just go piece to piece and you can give me your answers on it, or do you want to go through the whole?
Absolutely, we can
You
do
want
it.
to, you want to welcome to, I just figured I could.
No, we can do that. That's good.
So the above ground pool, 9.6, instead of 14, you know, we say with above ground pools, if you have to light the pool, if you have to repair it, fix it, rebuild it, you got to move it. I believe we could do that with the deck also, but we'd have to take a vote on the wood deck for that with the board. But obviously, if you're moving the pool and complying, you'd have to move the deck to the private house.
Okay, quick question on that. To make it comply with all the other requirements, electrical certificate and whatnot, that doesn't count as modifying the pool, right?
No, I'm saying
It could stay where it is for the life of the pool and the deck.
Okay.
What pool has to be replaced? That pool has to fly naturally to the deck.
Got it. Understood. Thank you.
All right. So the roofed over patio, the frame shed in the rear, both frame sheds in the rear, I did the minutes, we see them a lot. The driveway, we see that a lot too, going down there. The roofed over patio having 0 right on the property line. That's a bit of an issue. Deirdre from planning, do we have any precedent for that side yard? That's going to be the issue.
Looks like the house next door is pretty nice. Am I right? It looks like, looking at the overhead to the left, it looks like that's the roof over patio. Yeah.
So that's the only issue I see with this call. The meeting is never got passed.
It's gonna have to.
Yeah, that's the cut back.
Yeah, cut back. I'm willing to accept whatever your recommendations are on that.
You know, we have a 7, right? You said? Or would you have a 0 or would you have?
You understand what's going on?
Absolutely.
Good with cut back from 10 feet?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, all right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Board, have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Let's see if I get this right. Deny this portion of the application, the patio, property line, not instead, patio, pool, and the balance of the approved that. Oh, that's it, then, yeah, oh, the pool and the deck. Second.
All in favor?
All right.
No, we got you.
All right.
Application granted, sir.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Next step, item is 15.
Oh, you got it. I'm sorry, it's not tonight, it's 15 items.
15 accessory apartments, move to grant for a period of 3 years.
All in favor?
Aye. Any other business, Ms. Pissarro?
No.
Coming before the board, I'll make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Is there any chance we can get like